Given all of this, perhaps it shouldn't be surprising when tragedy strikes, as it did 4 years ago at a well owned by a company called Oasis Petroleum.
Some tragic news from western North Dakota. One man is killed and 3 are injured in an oil well explosion. A Wisconsin man died at the scene. 3 other men were transported to the Williston Hospital to be treated for severe burns.
Now, that is the sort of local news story that you watch, feel briefly sad about, and then forget as soon as they get to their final story about a squirrel who can play ping pong. But remember, that was a fatal accident, and one of the workers who died was a 21-year-old named Brendan Wegner. And for those who worked alongside him, their lives were never the same.
Jebediah Stanfill was working on a nearby rig and rushed over.
And I go out there and ask him where everybody's at and how many are there, and he just says, "Dirt man's dead, the dirt man's dead." That's when I looked up and I saw what I've later found out is Brendan burning in the dirt.
One other worker died. Another lost his legs and later committed suicide. It was the deadliest accident in the Bakken in the last decade.
Now, I know you're sad at this point, but brace yourself because you're about to get angry. Because after the accident, OSHA visited the worksite and found that it was missing several important safety features, including flame-retardant clothing and a safety slide. Now, you might think, as owners of that well, Oasis would come under a lot of scrutiny from OSHA. But you would be wrong about that.
How come Oasis wasn't held accountable for this accident?
Oasis doesn't have exposed employees on the job site. Rather, they hired a subcontractor. Now, that might sound like a bunch of legalese, but it's very important.
Oh, it doesn't sound like a bunch of legalese. It sounds like a bunch of complete bullshit. But it's actually true. Oasis technically had no employees there that day. And let me explain how that happened. Rather than hiring employees, companies like Oasis hire subcontractors, in this case, a company called Carlson Well Service, who employ the workers instead. And if you're thinking, well, surely Oasis must have had someone there to supervise the worksite. Yes, they did, but he wasn't an Oasis employee either. He was an independent contractor, a so-called company man, working for another firm hired by Oasis called Mitchell's Oilfield Service. So because Oasis had their company man, who didn't work for the company, overseeing the worksite, and their subcontractor overseeing its own workers, that meant that, technically, no one working on Oasis's well worked for Oasis that day. And that is a magic trick so shitty, it's amazing Chris Angel didn't come out and shout, "Mind freak!" at the end of it. Mind freak! I got you, everyone! I mind fruck you! And to be clear, Oasis was not found at fault for this accident. How could they be?